Here is an example of a recent job that we were asked to look at by Balclutha for a small section of road on the coast. Obviously, this is a distant site, view of the site. So we zoom in and you can start to see what we did here was we did two flight runs, one oblong to the south, one oblong to the north. We were originally looking at the council had concerns over the proximity of the coastal erosion to a retaining structure that it had built to support the road. As you can see, the coast is very, very close to the road. By flying this, we were able to produce some very, very high resolution aerial imagery at such an extent that you can start to see the edges of the gaping baskets and the cones here. This is very high resolution and clear benefit to the client in terms of picturing the problem. This particular beach was not accessible very easily without a long walk from the northern end. The aerial imagery is one incredibly useful part of it that comes from the work of the drone, but the major benefit by using a company such as Skycatch, or we have now swapped over to Pix4D as a supplier, is that you can undertake a review of the 3D model. Excuse me whilst this loads up, it may take a moment. Whilst it's loading, so the drone is programmed to take an automatic grid flight within an area that is specified by the operator from the controller using an iPad. The photography is taken every 2 or 3 seconds and has an overlap in the region of 70 to 90% overlap in both directions, lateral and leading on the camera. This high overlap allows us to identify the same point in multiple photographs or the same points in multiple photographs to allow us to create a 3D arrangement. Sorry for the slow load, but maybe I should have been a little bit more organized with this. We end up with a full 3D view of the site. So whilst this pops in, we're obviously scrolling into the same plan view, but if I rotate this, you start to see that we can get a very real, what I call the Google Earth on steroids view of the site as well. This particular site, you can see that there's quite a long height between the road and the coast. It's very, very close to being undermined. So we showed this information to the client, Southland District Council, my apologies, Balclutha District Council. And they started to realise and appreciate that their structure was very, very close to becoming completely undermined by erosion of the coast along this very, very active piece of coastline. It took approximately 40 minutes to fly the coast and provide something of this level of detail. We flew at approximately 50 meters altitude and had approximately a 20-degree tilt off vertical for the camera to allow us to be able to see some of these vertical faces with some clarity. We can just do top-down photography, but we find that this particular isometric photography produces a much better result on the vertical information that we're looking to try and gather. As you can see, this is a full 3D model. This can then be exported as a point cloud or as a mesh and brought into AutoCAD and used for design purposes directly. The accuracy of the model is quite high. Although this particular model does have a problem that we indicated later on by flying the two different sorties with two different batteries and not correcting for elevation on some of the photography. We did actually create a model here with a tilt in it. I don't know if it's terribly obvious here, but the model does actually rise dramatically from one end to the other to the tune of approximately 7 meters, which is not true in real life. And that was an interesting error. It's also a good learning exercise to say that if we do want these models to be globally accurate throughout and to one end, we do need to use some traditional survey to control these models, to pin them to the sphere of the planet, and to get them to be very, very accurate. We can see, however, that this model is pretty damn good. When we start to look at some of the accuracy that we have, it's an incredibly useful way for us to assess coastal erosion, often in very, very difficult and dangerous to access environments.